Welcome, everybody, to the first Run Pure Sports XFL show of the season. It's spring football. It's preseason football. It's kind of not great football, but it's football. And there's $50,000 up top on Draftkings. So we are, of course, very excited to break it down. We're breaking down the Week 3 XFL slate. I'm Meg, and I've got just the guys joining me to help figure out who the winners are this week. I've got SNYDER. I've got Bruce. I'm going to bring them in. We're going to talk about kind of like what we've seen so far, and then we're going to, of course, go game by game. But before we do, please give us a like, hit that like button. We really appreciate it. Of course, subscribe to the channel too, because Run Pure has got shows every day for every sport. It's, one price for all the sports. So if you aren't a Run Pure subscriber yet, be sure to use any of our codes. You get 15% off. It's Meg 15, it's SNYDER 15, Bruce 15, whoever you want. And you get 15% off your first month, because for XFL, we've got Bruce has got projections. We've got Bobby's playbook. We're all putting cores in there. So we've got a lot of good stuff for you for XFL, and hopefully you guys enjoy this show too. So let me go over to the guys. SNYDER, how are you doing today, and how are you enjoying the XFL season so far?
Yeah, I'm doing good here. Excited to dive into this stuff with you guys. I've been playing the first 2 weeks. It's been pretty good both 2 weeks. I mean, I know last week I got lucky to avoid a couple of the landmines that were out there. I just play one team normally in XFL and all the GPPs and whatnot, in some double ups and such. But yeah, looking forward to diving on and getting some winners from you guys here.
Absolutely. I waited to do. I think you said you posted your core already, right, SNYDER?
Yeah, I got her up on site.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that right after the show. So, you'll have all the cores, the playbooks up, the projections are up, but I'm definitely going to get my cores up right after we get off this show. But Bruce, how are you doing today, and how are you enjoying the XFL season so far?
That's going well. Just got some yard work done. It's a nice little Saturday here.
That's a good Saturday. Like you said, the later start than you're used to at the college shows. So
yeah, it was good to get some stuff done beforehand. It's been good. Lot better week 1 performance wise for me, but looking to bounce back this week. There's some good games. Looks like the weather looks good, except for this Vegas game. It looks like it's a little bit windy, but sunny everywhere else. So
right.
That's good to see. It's a fun sport. I know it's fringe football, but like you said, at least it's football. So
it's football. Exactly.
And we're here to make things easier for you. So excited to talk about the slate a little bit.
That's right. It's football, and there's still $50,000 up top. There's still decent prize pools. Even in the showdown has decent prize pools. $10,000 up top tonight and tomorrow night. So, hopefully talking through all this stuff will help you on both Classic and Showdown. And we'll have cores for today and for Sunday only as well tomorrow. Before we get into game by game, I've been writing an article the past 2 weeks, kind of just what I noticed and kind of like what my takeaways are, and you can go check that out. It's free on Run Pure Sports. But I want to get your guys' takeaways, like action items, what do you see and kind of how you can react to it. So, Bruce, I'll go back to you first. What are you seeing so far in the first 2 weeks that you can use as kind of actionable items to get an edge on the field?
Just a lot of passing, a lot more than I thought there'd be. I thought it was going to be a pretty run heavy league. Some of these OCs, you didn't know, what way they'd be leaning, run pass. But there's a couple of teams that are still heavy run. But I love to see the passing. That's good to see.
Yeah,
for sure. Team wise, I think Seattle has looked kind of worse than I thought they would. If June Jones in there, I thought they'd air out the ball, and DiNucci has kind of underachieved so far. So that's hurting them a little bit. San Antonio, we'll learn this week whether they've kind of overachieved so far. They haven't played anybody. They got Orlando last week, who's the worst team in the league by far.
Right. We definitely have learned that. Right.
yeah. And then they play Houston this week, so that's a good test to see see where they are. I'm kind of excited to see this Arlington team as well. They play Orlando, so it's a good get right spot for them
Right.
Thought they've looked good so far as well.
Right. Snyder, over to you. Kind of what are you noticing so far that are some kind of actionable items to try to gain an edge?
Yeah, you gotta pretty much try and get as many points as possible here. Not many stats are being recorded in these games versus like even the preseason of the NFL. All the totals are right around like 37 generally, so it's pretty tough to find some points here and score some even to score like 100 points has been tough on a main slate, which is kind of wild to me. Yeah, there's definitely a couple teams leading the pack, throwing the ball wise, like Seattle and Houston are the two front runners. And then you got a team like Orlando, which is horrible, which I figured they were going to be bad when they had a guy like Paxton Lynch in there. I mean, that guy was just absolute cheeks all the way through his NFL career. And I think we got some pretty good value here, especially looking at like the running back situation if you want to stack in some receivers this week. But like Seattle's been the most dominant passing attack this year. I'll probably look to keep going that way. A couple of receivers have set themselves apart from the rest of the league here with like Ja'Cory Pearson's got way more catches and targets than anybody else in the league. And we only have three receivers have caught more than one or have caught a touchdown in each week. So that's kind of interesting there. Excited to jump into this and kind of get some winners from you guys here.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I noticed that I mentioned in the article this week is it blows my mind just being so used to like NFL and the ceilings, right? And like how many guys each week are hitting the bonus and how many guys, each week are just racking up so many catches or, the multi-touchdown. We're just not seeing that. I think we've had maybe one multi-touchdown game. Nobody has hit the bonus yet. So like you said, like the scores are low, and that's why, I thought I was kind of like playing some safe floor guys last week with Burnett and Balaj, and they just, they had so much volume week one, Bruce, to your point, and then week two, it was like, what's going on here? And that's the thing with XFL. It's going to be volatile. It's going to be volatile all season. We need to be prepared. Buckle up.
I think didn't Burnett have like a fumble early in the game and they never even threw the ball back to him the rest of the game or something like that?
He got, how many targets did he get, Bruce? I feel like he got like 4 targets at least.
But 4 or 5,
Yeah, but the one catch he gets, he fumbles. So it's like, oh boy, that's when you knew the wheels were off the wagon there. But yeah, I mean, it's volatile. Buckle up. You got to, but I, with that said, I still think, you have to look at, at the data and kind of look for what data could be sticky and what data we can kind of follow to find these, floor plays that could potentially have the few ceiling plays on the slate. So with that, we'll get into the game by game and game by game. We'll talk about, there are some injuries to pay attention to. There are going to be some, switching of starters and of course get these guys favorite plays. But of course, before we do, please hit that like button. We really appreciate it. If this is our first XFO show, hopefully we can get some likes, get some more people watching and do more of these. So we really, really appreciate you guys. Our first game we're going to be talking about is we got tonight the Seattle Sea Dragons at the Vegas Vipers. All the totals are around the same, but I do believe this is the higher total on the slate, despite there being like a wind advisory. So I know there is some injury issues to watch on the Sea Dragons. I believe their starting running back Knox is out, which pushes Ellison more into a starting role. And then for Vegas, we've got Brett Hundley as the starting quarterback. Bruce, tell me, these are new players I'm learning here. First of all, did I get that information right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. And do you have anything to add there with kind of, injuries, starter news, and then kind of go into with the plays you like?
Yeah, I don't see anything else injury-wise. You nailed Ellison there. I think it's Hammonds that's the backup running back there, and he's been kind of a hybrid type of guy the first 2 weeks, so should be a heavy workload for Ellison. And they've said that Seattle doesn't run the ball under June Jones, but what did he get? 17 carries last week. So he could be in store for heavy workload against one of the worst rush defenses so far in the league. So and he's cheap, so
Right.
he's going to be he's
going to
have
be
a
high owned probably.
ton of ownership. Yeah, um, it's a good play, I think, if he sticks to what he did last week. The Seattle wide receivers, they're still priced up, but they are going to throw the ball a ton. Ja'Cour Pearson and Blake Jackson got the majority of the snaps last week. Ja'Cour Pearson, 96% of the snaps, 10 targets per game. Still a great play. Had that one touchdown last week. So hard to get off of him. If you look at Vegas, they want to throw the ball a ton with that wind. They say 15 miles an hour. Could be some stronger gusts there as well. Their rotation is very, very short. They have Bidette, Allison, and the disappointing Martavis Bryant.
Right.
So, it's a good spot for them. They're going to be throwing a ton. They should be playing from behind as well. So, I probably want to get a piece of that in some lineups. And some lineups I may just fade the game altogether, except Ellison or so.
Okay. Well, I had 2 follow-up questions for you, and then I want to get obviously Snyder's take on this game. But my first one is the wind advisory. Usually in NFL, we wouldn't overreact to 15 miles an hour. I don't think the totals dropped much. That's usually what we use as our barometer. Does the wind really get you off this game, or is that really playing any role in your decision on this game?
Yeah, they said wind gusts are 20 to 30 miles an hour.
Okay.
So it's 15 steady, I guess. So
Gotcha.
So it could be pretty bad. I'm not too sure of Hundley's arm, how strong it is, but that's still pretty steady for me. Does make me a little leery of the passing game there. So, but I still like Bidette a little bit. He's still playing in the slot. He still should see the short game work. Same with Pearson. I mean, he's the slot guy 100% of the time. So,
well, that was kind of my next question is on both teams. These are, both fairly pass happy teams, especially Seattle. And you've got 3 receivers on each, both running. I mean, again, Seattle, ironically, Gordon's running less routes than the other 2, but on Vegas, all 3 are running the same amount, and Gordon is still running his fair share of routes and snaps. So it's not like he's, getting like half or something like that. So with that said, especially on Vegas, all 3 are running, fairly the same amount of routes. Who are you leaning towards? You kind of said it sounds like Bidette for Vegas, right?
Yeah, Bidette looks good to me. He's popped out the first 2 weeks, and I think he was good in the previous version of the XFL, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's the USFL. These things run together for
You're right.
So I think Bidette's a good play still. Gordon's been getting doubled quite a bit, and I know last game he got doubled a ton, and it's been rough sledding for him so far. But I think he can have one of those breakout games eventually. I just don't know if it's this one. Most of his targets are further down the field. If that wind is crazy, I can't see him having a huge game there.
Okay, so then on the Seattle side, you're definitely obviously leaning more towards Pearson, even though he might be chalky. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Those are the questions. I'm sure I'll have follow-up questions for Snyder too, because we are learning as we go here for each game, and that's what's great. Hopefully we can help you guys too. So Snyder, in this Seattle versus Vegas game, again, are you letting the wind affect you much in your decision? Do you still like the quarterbacks? Who are your favorite receivers? Who are your favorite plays in this game?
Yeah, I think I'm still gonna be targeting this game pretty hard. I think here this week. Like I said, I was talking about DiNucci kind of pre-show leading in, but he's got the highest completion percentage, the most yards passing, the highest attempts of anyone in the league. So I'm gonna keep rolling with DiNucci. Probably in my main lineup, it'll be between him and Silvers, but probably leaning towards DiNucci, and then I'm gonna stack him with Pearson. I don't mind the ownership there. I mean, if I'm playing one team or 3 teams, I'll definitely have him on at least 1 or 2 of those teams, if not all 3, just to jam him in there. And then Morgan Ellison, he just makes too much work. He's just too good of a value play, I think, on this slate, so I'll be jamming him in there too. I've got a couple plays I think will kind of get me different to had to differentiate myself a little bit later, so I'll just jam these guys in there. I think Blake Jackson's an interesting, if you just want to like full on stack this team, maybe fade Morgan Nelson, just run a Danucci double stack with Pearson Jackson. I think that's definitely viable. Josh Gordon will be low owned, upside threat. He's I think he's third on the team in targets, so he's generally just been a big play threat, but he does have a TD on the year, so I think that's interesting. And then if you're looking to bring it back, I mean, it's gonna be so hard to like run a stack here and then bring it back with Badet. I think that's why his ownership's probably gonna be like maybe around 10 to 15% on this slate. But I think he showed the upside week 1, so he's definitely a great GPP option, I think. So I really like going that. If you can find the salary, that's when just putting in Morgan Ellison really helps out if you want to like jam some of these studs in this game stack, and you pretty much need to have Ellison in there to help save salary. And there is a couple other running backs later that we can find for value too. So I think that's mainly where I'm going on this game.
Okay, I like it. And we got some people in the chat giving some good comments and feedback too. Keep that coming. We appreciate it. Hit that like button. Hopefully people keep on coming and keep joining, or, watch before the slate locks at 7. But we appreciate your feedback, and be sure to drop any questions in the chat too. We can get these guys to answer as well. All right. Well, that covers the first game, which is tonight. And then we've got 3 games over tomorrow on Sunday. So the first game, we've got the St. Louis Battlehawks at the DC Defenders. We can see if the Beer Snakes are back in DC. I believe, yes, as you mentioned, Bruce, the weather should be good there. DC kind of rotates their quarterbacks, so that's a bit tricky on that side. I think AJ McCarron has looked pretty solid for St. Louis. They always seem to start slow and then finish strong, but those are my biggest takeaways off the jump. But be sure to, let me know if there's any injuries or, again, starter changes or anything that we should all be aware of. And then, of course, who are your favorite plays? So, Bruce, I'll go to you first. Who are you targeting in this game?
Yeah, mostly want to stay away from the quarterbacks on the DC side. I do like King. I wish they would just start him. He's
right.
So good. Running the football, especially. These first 2 games. I don't want to play Teamu here in this spot, even though St. Louis on defense has been pretty bad. I think maybe other than Orlando, they've probably had the second worst defense here. I do like McCarron, as you said. I think he looks good. He looked good last week. So. Don't hate that. I like these DC running backs. They could kind of go overlooked here. Supposedly, it should be a split with Smith and Armstead here. Armstead is 4,400 compared to Smith's 8,200, and I think Armstead's kind of looked a little bit better, even though Smith was the number 1 pick in the league. I think Armstead's kind of looked a little bit better, to be honest. Brian Hill is supposedly back this week. He's probable, so something to watch out for. He had a hamstring issue, I think. So they did give most of the snaps to Durant last week. So if for some reason he doesn't go, Durant's in play. He's looked good in the passing game, averaging almost 4 targets per game. So I don't hate that play. I do think DC is the better team here, and St. Louis can be playing from behind. But DC has a couple of linemen that are out. Their starting and backup centers are out. And I think a guard is out as well, a starting guard. So that's something to watch out for. This game is tomorrow, so we probably won't get that information till then. Hakeem Butler practiced full on Thursday.
Okay, yeah, I saw he's questionable.
Yeah, and same with Aitman, supposedly practiced, and I think that's it injury-wise there. I do like Austin Prohl. I think you can get him at lower ownership, maybe 10 to 15% or so. Like I said, I like DC in this game, so St. Louis has to throw the ball a little bit more. They are one of the I think so they've thrown the ball in 84 plays and ran the ball in 34 plays so far this year. So they are a passing team. Prohl and Shepard, I like a lot, especially if Butler and Aitman aren't 100%. I think that those two guys are really solid plays.
Right. And the unique thing with Butler that's frustrated me, at least, especially last week, is first week, he, compared to the other like starting receivers, not getting near as many snaps and routes run. Didn't either last week. Like when you look at the total snaps and routes run, much lower compared to the other starting receivers. And then he's the one that's just kind of smashed especially last week. So, that's frustrating. That's the kind of data that we should maybe look at and say, I don't know if that is something that's going to continue, or maybe he is just getting, a lot of targets on the routes that he does run, and he's McCarron's guy. He's a huge target when he's out there. So, at this point, it's still one of those tricky things to figure out. But I think that's a great point about Prohl too. He seems like a good go-to target. I know McCarron's gone to him in very like high leverage situations there in the end of the games. JC Zargo in chat, our JC Zargo asked, which running back do you lean Abram Smith? Because as you mentioned, they do really split it up. So what's your lean there? Do you go really heavy more Smith?
8,200 Smith is hard to justify. I mean, there's some value here, but I kind of think that Armstead has looked like the better back through the first 2 weeks.
So you would take the value.
Yeah. Then. And then, Smith isn't really a receiver out of the backfield either. So,
right.
I lean Armstead there. If you're going to play somebody, I still like Ellison in the first game more.
Right.
But, just kind of an under the radar play and like tournaments there.
Sure.
I think it'd be a good play.
Absolutely. All right, Snyder, over to you for the St. Louis DC game. Who are you targeting? Who do you like? Or are you not as interested in this game since you're highly interested in the first game?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll get to too much here. I do think Austin Prohl is a really good value option, though. I think he's a guy that can get double-digit points in this game, and he's going to be lower owned, like Bruce is saying, around 10 to 15%. And if you can get 10 points or something for a guy at his price tag on a slate like this, I think that's definitely something I'm interested in. So I'm going to have some conviction on him on the St. Louis side. I don't think I'll get to much Ellsworth on that team. I was kind of expecting a little more from A.J. McCarron coming in. I thought he would do a little better than this. He's played good, but I was just expecting maybe a little more. He's definitely someone I want to keep my eye on and such going forward. From the DC side, I agree with Bruce there. I think I would rather play Armstead over Smith. You get about half the price tag there. You're going to get him at least half the ownership, maybe a third the ownership down there. So I really like going there for tournaments and stuff. I think he's a great GPP play. Helps you if you play him. A couple of these running backs, value guys like Ellison and Armstead or something, that's really good value. It helps you spend up other places too. So I think Armstead's the guy I'm looking at there. Abram Smith, if you can afford it, he's fine. I wouldn't play either of these quarterbacks, though, either like Bruce is saying, Tamu or King. They both have decent rushing upside, but I just have a hard time figuring out who's going to get the majority of the snaps there. So I'm going to be off of both of those guys. Kind of a pass here for me. I think it would just be Armstead and then Prohl for me if I was going to play a guy from this game.
Right. Unless you're playing tomorrow's showdown, in which case you may want to play both. I believe last week the winning DC game, the winning lineup in the DC showdown, I believe both. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was Abram Smith captain with both DC quarterbacks and defenses. I mean, it was a wild lineup. So wild lineups will win you a showdown. And there's still 10,000 up top tonight, 10,000 up top tomorrow. So don't be afraid to get weird with these unique situations. As we're talking game by game, keep that in mind for the showdown streets too. Okay, I think that covers that game. 2 more games to go, guys. We've got more people join us, which we really appreciate. So be sure to like this episode, hit that like button for us, subscribe to the channel. if you're not, as we're at the halfway point of our 4-game slate, if you're not a Run Pure subscriber, be sure to consider joining, because you will get access to Bobby's playbook, Bruce's projections, all 3 of our cores. We're putting good stuff in the Discord, hopefully to help you out on Showdown. So a Run Pure subscription helps for all sports, but for XFL, we've got a ton of great content for you, and you can use code SNYDER15, Bruce15, Meg15, whatever you want. So with that, let's go over to our 3rd game tomorrow afternoon. We have the Orlando Guardians, as we mentioned, definitely the worst team in the league, at Arlington Renegades. Arlington has made a QB switch. I believe it is going to be Kyle Sloter is now going to be the quarterback for the Renegades. Bruce, chime in if there's any other injury news or kind of starter changes that we need to be aware of in this game. And then who are you targeting in this game?
I don't think there's much injury wise in this one. I looked earlier. I guess Keith Ford got cut midweek. So
I did read that. Okay.
Yeah, he's out. That's the only one I'm really looking at.
Does that make you like Davion Smith more?
Yeah. I mean, I liked him before because the matchup is so good. But yeah, I definitely like him now. I think Farrow was in the previous version of the XFL or USFL. That's the guy they signed, and he was pretty good. But he was cut for Ford when Ford made the team. So
interesting.
I mean, if you think about it, Ford was really bad. So how about Farrow?
Right.
That is Farrow. So that's rough. But I really like Sloter. $6K for him, and he does have some rushing upside. If you remember from his previous preseason snaps. That he got, I think maybe with Minnesota.
I believe you're right. I think it was Minnesota,
something like that. And he would get injured in the USFL when he played for New Orleans, but he did have some rushing upside before he got hurt. He always had a good connection with Sal Cannella, so that's something to watch. In the USFL, he would smash every week, maybe 7 to 10 receptions or so.
Right.
So
they're reunited. Yeah,
reunited. Yeah. And I want to stay away from this Orlando quarterback situation. They did get rid of Quentin Dormady. So
was he giving plays to other quarterbacks or something?
That was the rumor. I don't know how true it is, but yeah, that's pretty bad when you stoop to that level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to play Paxton Lynch. I guess you could take a chance on Francois in tournaments or something, but yeah, I don't really want to touch that. Davion Smith is interesting. He's the main one I want to target at running back here. Orlando's just bad all the way around, so there should be some scoring by Arlington in this game, and they love to run the football. So I think their split is pretty run heavy. Yeah,
that's what I was.
50-72, but they were behind against Houston most of that game, so they did have to throw the football. So I think week 1 they were pretty run heavy.
They were very run heavy.
They had 3 or 4 tight ends on the field, so I don't love this passing game either for Arlington. They should be ahead. So I do like Smith here. Wide receivers for Arlington. Man, it's rough.
It's a motley crew there.
Yeah. Outside of Cannella, there's not really.
Of course, outside of Cannella,
safe option. Winningham. I mean, he looked good last week. 4K plays most of the snaps. That's about the only guy I'd go to here. Eli Rogers on the Orlando side scored that early touchdown, just disappeared the rest of the game there. So he's interesting. Javonte Payton for Orlando played a lot of the game last week, and his 2.6 yards per out run is pretty solid for a big play guy, and he's really fast. So I would play him in tournaments. He's very interesting there. Lance Lenore in his first game played about half the snaps, only got one, maybe 2 targets, and but he was good in the USFL as well, and has NFL preseason experience. So he's interesting to me in tournaments as well.
Well, before I go over to Snyder, I did have a follow-up question about Sloter and the passing offense. As you mentioned, they are more run heavy. Does that work? Do you think Slaughter's going to be chalk because of his price and because of people's familiarity with him in the USFL and connection with Canella? And B, the follow up to that is that like good chalk or bad chalk? Is that bad chalk because they could, be running a run heavy, be playing from ahead, or because they're going up against Orlando? Are you interested? I guess my question is, do you think he'll be chalky? And if so, do you think he'll be over or underweight?
I don't think he'll be too chalky
Okay.
because you have Hundley kind of in that range. He's 1,500.
Yeah, you can save on Hundley too, right?
So it's not going to be too bad. I don't think I think he'll be maybe 10 to 15% or so, with a lot of the ownership going to Danucci. So I don't mind him, especially if you're going to leave salary to be a little bit different. You can easily do that on this slate. If you play him, and Ellison. So I don't hate that. And, I usually play 3 teams. I may have them on one. And so I guess I'll be overweight.
Okay.
What I think he'll be. So.
Okay. That makes sense. All right, SNYDER, what are your thoughts on this game and who are you targeting specifically in this game?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a pretty good 2 of the highest owned plays on this slate coming from this game. And Davion Smith, 65, great price tag for him.
Right.
He's in a great spot here, smash spot. Should be in a good spot here against this poor Orlando team. They have been decent against the run, I guess, through 2 games, but that's a small sample size. I think Arlington's going to roll here, so I think he should be very, very comfortable, a safe play here. Not sure if I'm going to get to him on my main team, but just based off the ownership there, Slaughter's a fine option. Yeah, I think he'll probably be one of the top 3, probably 2 or 3 highest owned QB on the slate, I think. And Sal Cananella is one of the top plays on the slate. He's got a safe workload. He'll be really popular, but I think it's just one of those guys that I'm just going to jam in there. And I think going on the other side, I don't think many people are going to play 2 tight ends at all because people generally don't like to play tight ends at all in DFS. So I'm going to play him, and then I'm going to go over to Cody Latimer. I really like him. I think he's going to be like maybe around 15%. Week 1, he caught 5 of 6 targets, 68 yards and a touchdown. Comes back last week, catches 5 of 8 targets. Yep. I think Orlando's going to be down in this game. They're going to be forced to throw, and I think he's a guy that they're going to be looking at early and often in this game. So I really like playing, maybe even play both tight ends in this game in a single team. I don't think many people will do that. So
no, that's really a great way to get unique.
Yeah, the 4,100 price tag really allows me to open a lot of things up in my lineup too. So I really like the value with him. I think he's one of the best plays on the board, honestly, price per dollar. So Vladimir is one of my favorite plays on the slate for this week.
And he and Lynch have a connection back to the NFL day. They showed it, in the when Lynch is in there. So, so I think that's a very interesting call. Okay, well, we'll go over to our last game of the 4-game slate, and that is the San Antonio Brahmas at the Houston Roughnecks on Sunday night, tomorrow evening, to finish out the slate, the late night hammer. So, Bruce, who are you targeting in this game? I mean, obviously we know that I believe AJ Smith is the offensive coordinator for the Roughnecks, and they are very pass heavy. Though I did notice with Silvers, I was very high in Silvers last week, and they are mixing in the backup running back some, for some design runs, or just mixing them in a little more than I expected. Are you still high on Silvers? You're obviously high on the passing game, and who are you targeting in this game?
Yeah, I think Silver's ownership is going to be pretty low.
Yeah, it looks like it really dropped down after being high last week.
I thought he'd be a lot more chalky this week, but I guess with other options, it doesn't. He's not getting a lot of buzz this week. Cole McDonald, kind of taking that out of him. So that's I don't think I can play Silvers, especially on a main team. They've been subbing McDonald in, so it's rough. I don't think I can do it. But running backs, on the running back side, I do think Max Borghi is interesting.
Hmm.
You know, he's going to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. And San Antonio, like I said earlier in the show, hasn't really been tested so far. So I think he can have a big game at low ownership as well. I think I'm seeing 10 to 15% on him. Holly caught a touchdown last week. Didn't really do anything else, but he has some upside at 3K. They really like this Bryson Aline kid. I guess he's the second or third string back now. He looked good, limited action last week, but I just don't know how much he's going to play. And I don't really want to touch the San Antonio running backs. I like Houston's defense a lot.
Yeah.
So don't want anything there. Receiving wise, San Antonio should be trailing in this one. Houston's pass defense has been best in the league so far. So it is tough to recommend many of these wide receivers, especially with Cone back there throwing the ball. I don't think he's that great. But Darius Roberson looked great last week. 3K, got tons of targets there. So if you need a good value piece, he's interesting. Of course, Kirkland and Burnett on the Houston side, they're going to dominate targets there on the field the whole game. So there are definitely going to be some chalky pieces there between those two guys. TJ Vasher also got a ton of snaps last week. Played almost the whole game. Big guy, red zone targets. So I like him a lot. Supposedly Alize Mack is questionable.
Okay. So he had a big week last week.
Yeah. So if he's out, Dion Yelder is very interesting as the other tight end there. Jalen Tolliver is also questionable. So if he misses, that could open up some.
And I was interested in Tolliver this week, just thinking he's due to kind of break out. He's with the snaps and routes he's running, but he's questionable. I don't think he practiced on Thursday.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
That's definitely something to watch tomorrow. Question in the chat that I threw up. You mentioned Nick Holly, like you said, he's just kind of used as like a receiver, even though he's a running back position. But would you punt off a running back position with Holly and kind of cram in 5 receivers? Does that interest you at all?
Yeah, I don't think you need it, but he's definitely shown that he can catch touchdowns. So they go to him near the goal line a good amount. Just know that he's not probably going to get any rushes.
Right.
So,
I don't think he's had any attempts yet. When I was looking at data last night. Yeah.
So if they get ahead, they may not. If they get way ahead, they may not go his way a ton. But he's a good player. So. And he is getting close to 100% of the snaps. At least last week, got 94% of the snaps. So he's going to be in the game. So he's interesting for sure.
Well, since just one question, since you were, pulled together the data, how many snaps did Cole, is it McDonald get last week from Silvers? Because it felt like more than I expected, but I didn't know how many it truly was. Because again, you mentioned last week Silvers was chalk. This week he's projected to be pretty low owned. So, that could be an interesting tournament play. But if the backup's coming in a lot, then that's obviously a little risky.
Yeah. So last week, Silvers got 42 snaps and McDonald got 20. So.
Oh wow! I didn't realize it was that much.
I think that's why
it felt that frustrating.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people are scared off of him. I believe so. Yeah, that's good ratio of snaps there for McDonald.
Yikes. Okay. I didn't realize that this is why you look at the data, to kind of help you make these decisions. But certainly, if you think, Silvers is going to be chucking it out there when he's out there, because they are pass heavy when he's in the game. If you think he can, put up a good stat line, then he is going to come at low ownership. But definitely something to keep in mind. It's a risky play for sure. SNYDER, let's go over to you. Late night hammer here Sunday night. Who are you targeting? Who do you like in this game?
Yeah, I definitely have a couple pieces in this game that I like. I do think Silvers is going to be like under 10%. And it makes for an interesting late night hammer, like a double stack or something. You can put my guy Max Borghi in there. Max Borghi is probably one of my favorite spin notes on this whole slate. He's got the 5th most rushing yards in the league, and the receptions have been there too for him. He's got 6 catches on the year, 10 targets. He scored a touchdown in both of the 2 games, so he's got some good touchdown equity. I like attacking this Houston offense. I think it's one of the better ones in the league. So Kirkland and Burnett, I think we see Kirkland, the higher owned guy, slightly just because he's cheaper. But we saw that the upside from Burnett there.
And Burnett burned people last week. Yeah.
Yeah, nice little flop leg spot for him here on the late night hammer. I really like that for tournaments. He'd be a guy I would definitely have in like my secondary or third team there. Maybe run a little stack there. But I really like Borgie for this slate. I'm going to have him most likely on my main team. I think he's going to come in like under 15% too, as I don't think many people are going to be looking to spend up that much at running back, as we have some more cheaper values at running back there. So I really like spending up there. And then I'm going to be spending up at defense as well this week. If I'm not going Arlington, which is the other option I would go, I'm going to go up to the top, which many people don't like, using all the full salary on defense. Houston's been very dominant. This Wade Phillips defense has been absolutely unreal this year. 12 sacks, 5 interceptions, forcing fumbles as well. I mean, definitely want to continue to keep attacking this Houston defense. So I'm going to do like a little secondary stack with Borgie and the Roughnecks defense there.
Yeah,
and I would lean to Kirkland, but I really like Burnett in tournaments as that late night hammer here. And looking at the other side of the ball, I don't see too much that I like here from San Antonio. I guess you could go back to like a Kalen Ballage there as another like flop lag situation there. He's fine. Darius Robinson Jr. He's 3K stone punt. I think he's going to see some decent ownership there. But if you need a stone punt to help you jam in even like a double stack with you could run Silvers with a double stack and then run Robinson right back. That really allows you, and you play one of those cheap running backs. I mean, that's a pretty easy way to stack this game up for a late night hammer and still have some salary just getting some of those other guys from the earlier games. So definitely on the Borgie with the Houston defense. So it's my favorite part of this game.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That was gonna lead me into defenses before we get to like plays of the day. I had a couple questions. If you're in chat, please drop in any questions now. I'm going to ask the guys a couple questions because before I put my cores out and build my lineups, I want to get some questions answered. I wrote in my article about just the defensive dominance last week. 6 of the 8 teams score between 7 to 12 DK points. Each week we're seeing a handful, 10 to 12 DK points. So I think that is, very important to pick that right defense and certainly consider defense on Showdown. Are your favorite defenses basically the defenders and the Roughnecks because they are so aggressive, or are you always going to target whoever's playing Orlando? I'll go to you, Bruce, first. How are you handling defenses this week with that in mind?
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like the first couple of weeks, it seemed like the defenses were mispriced. It seemed like the good defenses were down low. This week they've kind of got it right. I would say. I love Houston every week. They're gonna rush every time.
Yeah.
Defenders as well. They got Greg Williams, so they're gonna rush a ton. So I love defenses like that. And of course, everybody knows from the NFL you want those good pass rush defenses, and they definitely can make plays as well. Arlington as well. Any team, like you said, any team playing Orlando. Yeah. So that's interesting to me. I do kind of like Vegas a little bit.
I was just going to say they put up 9 points the last 2 weeks, seem to be fairly aggressive, and it's not like DiNucci's immune to making mistakes.
Yeah. So PFF grades their pass rush as second best in the league so far, right behind Houston, actually, just a couple points behind. So they do get pressure on the quarterback. Their tackling isn't great. Their coverage isn't great. Their rush defense isn't great, but they do get pressure on the quarterback. So you love to see that. And the amount of times that Seattle's going to put the ball in the air.
Exactly.
And DiNucci is DiNucci. So it is an interesting play on defense if you want to get a little bit different.
I was just going to say that too. Same point is that, just like NFL, we look for those teams that are going to be dropping back a lot to target to play the defense just to give us those opportunities. So that's why I don't mind Vegas as a lower owned defense. Snyder, do you like Vegas as a lower owned defense? And again, or then you prioritizing the other ones we mentioned, like you obviously were high on Houston, potentially, I assume, DC and, who's going up against Arlington. But what are your thoughts on, outside of the Roughnecks, your favorite defenses?
Yeah, definitely. If you need the salary, I don't have any issue going down to like Vegas or something down there. I think they're fine. And then generally targeting Orlando, especially Orlando on the road, I think that's going to put a lot of ownership towards the Renegades. But I think they're fine. They had a touchdown, I believe. Yeah, they've had 2 defensive touchdowns. So I was in the first game. I think I was actually on them for some reason that first game. But that's kind of,
you were. That was the Vegas Arlington game. I remember you talking about the Renegades in chat. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But
so
I think
call.
that was kind of just dumb luck there. 2 touchdowns in the game is very high variant. I don't think we see that again. I think I'm generally just going to go with the Roughnecks. I love the pressure they put on the quarterback, and then they got some ball hawks out there in the safety and the secondary getting those interceptions, 5 interceptions and a couple forced fumbles too this year.
Right. One question I had, Luis Perez was the gift that kept on giving to the Renegades that first week, but now it's going to be Huntley. Bruce, is it supposed to, with this quarterback situation, obviously I get a little gun shy about, just a few of the quarterbacks have gotten 100% of the snaps. Do we think Huntley's going to get 100%, or Huntley's going to get 100% for Vegas this week? What's your take on that?
They've been pretty fluid. They kind of go back and forth. Playing Perez in like the USFL was always tilting because he wouldn't start, and then the starter would perform terribly, and he'd come in and light it up. So yeah, I think he maybe gets some drives. He's such a good team player. So he maybe gets a drive or 2 at least. But yeah,
okay. So you are concerned about Huntley not getting the full?
A little, yeah. Just because he is a good player, and if Huntley struggles and Seattle kind of jumps out to a lead, they could. I think Perez is kind of the better passer of the 2, even though he's got a weak arm. But yeah, I'm a little concerned there, but 7,400 still. He's still cheap. I think he can get it done at least, and he runs a little bit. Not a ton, but he does a little.
Okay. So we have one question in the chat so far. Can we fade Saturday to gain any advantage? I know you talked about that, Bruce. Is that something you are considering more as like a ownership leverage?
It's possible.
And the weather, I guess.
Yeah, I like Ellison a lot. So I may just lean on him for today, and then hope everything else is spread out. Especially if this wind is as bad, because it's supposed to weaken as the night goes on, but still 15 miles an hour steady, and then 20 to 30 gusts. So it's still a little scary. I may just lean on Ellison and then worry about my lineups tomorrow, because there is some injury concerns with some of these other games that start tomorrow. So could get some juicy plays tomorrow. That's why it's good to be in the Discord and get those.
Absolutely. Ownership on Pearson. What are we projecting the ownership there?
Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Buying some time here.
I think he's going to be like right around 50 to 55%.
I was going to say, I thought last I checked it was coming in pretty high.
Yeah. Most sites are pumping him pretty hard. So yeah, it looks like about 50%.
Pretty much I'm looking at ownership now, the kind of the chalkiest at each position. Looks like DiNucci, Ellison, Pearson, and I don't know if, I didn't see defense in there, but let's see. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So with that, let's get, I want to get your guys' plays of the day. So Bruce, I'll go to you first. Who is your play of the slate?
Play of the slate for me is definitely Ellison, the running back today. I'm just going to start there and worry about building the rest of my lineups tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, and I mentioned in the article, I'm leaning more 1 to 2 running backs in lineups. Are you guys both more interested in that as opposed to, filling out the flex with running back positions?
Yeah, I'm more of a one running back guy, and then taking shots on my wide receivers.
Okay. Yeah. How about you, Snyder?
I'm going to go 1 main running back, and then I'm going to use kind of Max Borghi as kind of
like a hybrid,
a receiver, running back type, a hybrid guy there for sure.
I like that. Okay, so Ellison is Bruce's play of the slate. Snyder, who is your play of the slate?
I'm going to go with a tight end here, and not the chalkier tight end, the one I think is going to be about at least half the percentage of Sal Cannella. I'm going to go with Cody Latimer on the other side of that game. I think they get down here and they're forced to lean on the pass. I think he's a guy that's going to find the box again this week. I think he could have a similar stat line to what he did on week 1, where he went for 5 for 68 and a touchdown there. So if he could get us 12, about 17 points, I mean, I think that would be huge, and that would pretty much break the slate, I think, if he can duplicate that tonight or tomorrow night.
I like that. And mine is, I am still deciding. I really think we can get some ownership leverage on some Vegas receivers. Which one is very tough? They all get around the same snaps and targets. Martavius Bryant is going to be coming in as, I believe, very, very low owned, risky for sure. And again, especially in this win. But I think these Vegas receivers are going to come in very low owned. And this is the highest total on this slate despite the wind. So I think the Seattle side is going to be higher owned and the Vegas receivers are going to be lower owned. So that's going to be, I'm still check my cores in about an hour, and it'll probably be at least 1 Vegas receiver. Well, guys, I had a great time. Any final thoughts? We'll go to final thoughts for the slate or tonight's showdown or anything before we get on out of here. This has been a fun first XFL show. We had a good amount of people joining. We really appreciate you joining. Be sure to check the Discord later and our core plays later. But Bruce, any final thoughts for before we get on out of here?
None really. I guess if you're playing this showdown slate tonight, I think a sneaky play is Cinque Sweeting, wide receiver for Vegas. He's kind of looked good the first couple of weeks. He's a slot guy, so he comes on the field when they go to 4 wide receiver sets, and he does have a touchdown. I think he scored it week 1, so kind of a sneaky play. I don't know how cheap he is on the showdown slate, but I think he's an interesting one.
All right. I like the sneaky showdown play. I love it. Okay. Snyder, any final thoughts for the people? Any good takes for tonight or the slate?
Yeah, I had fun here mixing up with you guys, getting some winners from you guys. I think that's about it. I'm mainly just going to play like 1 to 3 teams here, kind of lean on the guys I'd mentioned earlier as the majority of my building blocks here. And if you guys, if people are out there and are bored and around later, I'll be back for the PGA Round 4 show with Kurt here in a few hours. So on the same channel, if you want to tune into that, we'll be back later giving out some Round 4 winners. But yeah, it was fun. Fun show here. Hopefully we can find the winning circle here. Get all those RPS logos up top here after this XFL slate.
Absolutely. Well, you guys said it best. I had a blast with you guys. I hope we can keep doing this. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, check out the cores later, check out the Discord later, and we will see you guys next time.